Schumer is a Democratic strategist and founder of the consulting firm Democracy Partners. Hello, Robert.
Good to be with you.
It's good to be with you. And Erol Morkoc is spokesperson, vice chair of external relations for the Republicans overseas. Errol, good evening to you as well.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So the polls say this is close to call. Errol, let's start with you. We see Trump up on the stage saying that he's winning, he's ahead, but he doesn't really know. Nobody knows, if truth be told, Errol.
Yeah, it is too close to call in any sort of real thing outside of statistically, right? Trump does have an edge in EV early voting compared to where we were in 2020. The Democrats definitely aren't where they would like to be. They don't have that firewall from early voting that they would like to. We're doing better with registration for new voters. In all metrics, yes, we've done very well, and that's great. But the real fact of the matter is this is 50-50. It's going to come down to maybe a few 100,000 votes, maybe not as tight as it was the first time. But it's also going to come down to something that I think is going to be a narrow landslide. And maybe for either candidate, but I think for President Trump, where one candidate, President Trump, in my perspective, is going to win all of the swing states, or almost all of them, potentially even adding Virginia to it. And that's going to be a narrow victory in each state. Yes, very optimistic, of course.
Robert?
We have nothing to lose here. They've been in charge for almost the last 20 years. I mean, if we lose this election, nothing changes for us. If we win this election, everything changes. So the stress and the pressure is on the Democrat Party right now.
Robert?
Yes, I think the momentum is with Harris, absolutely. And there are two reasons why. One is that we have a far superior ground operation. The dirty secret of polling is that the pollsters make a prediction as to who's going to vote. And it's not just within the margin of error, it's within the margin of effort. We have thousands and thousands of people going door to door to turn out our vote in the swing states. And you can see how we're doing in the early vote. And that's the second thing. The vast proportion, 55% of the people who voted early throughout the country are women, 53. In the swing states, like Pennsylvania, it was almost 60% of the vote. I'm wrong. 55% of the vote is female so far, to 43% men. And women break for Harris big time. The same is true in Wisconsin. The same is true in Michigan. The same is true in Georgia. And that results in momentum for us that is really hard to stop if we turn out our vote election day.
Trump is promising, Errol, that he will tackle inflation. Is it not the reality that presidents actually have very little direct power to tackle inflation?
It depends on how hands-on a president wants to be with the Federal Reserve. And most presidents who come near the Federal Reserve, such as John F. Kennedy or Donald Trump, have been shot at or killed. So it depends on really how much the executive branch wants to involve itself. But can the executive branch do things, especially, it is America. You need Congress, you need the Senate. But let's say you have all three branches. Can you enact policies that would bring about stability in the currency? Yes, you probably can. And where those policies are, what happens in those policies are for Donald Trump to define in his actual presidency. But I don't believe that it's impossible for the leader of the country to have no impact on inflation. Just as Joe Biden, he was hampered by some of the times and some of the circumstances, but definitely certain choices by Janet Yellen, his Secretary of Economy, didn't exactly help things.
He's pledging
maybe misjudged the situation.
He's pledging to expand U.S. energy production, isn't he? Drill, baby, drill is one of his catchphrases, isn't it? When he's on those stages, he's arguing that would lower energy costs. Liquid gold, as he calls it. Analysts are skeptical, though, Errol. They're skeptical that what he's promising.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, America has achieved energy independence. Achieved energy independence multiple different times, including, to give credit to our Democrat friends, under the Biden administration as well. There's been a lot of oil drilling, but it hasn't been to the capacity that's required. I think it's important for your listeners to realize that we're entering the fifth industrial revolution, and the amount of energy required. Just go and look at Microsoft making that deal to reopen the 3 Mile Island power plant, how Google is looking to reopen nuclear power plants to run superclusters of the future for AI and high tech. The country needs accessible energy. And right now, bridge fuels like fossil fuels are the only way for us to get to that sustainable future. Donald Trump knows that. Elon Musk knows that. And that's why that's a powerful team going in there, because it's a message of progression, and progression through harnessing energy, localizing it, and getting output. And cheap energy leads to more productivity and better life outcome for everybody.
Immigration's a big issue in this election, Robert. What would Kamala Harris do?
Well, let me say first a word about inflation. I agree that the president can do a lot about inflation. We can crack down on price gouging, which is one of the biggest causes of higher prices today by big corporations, big monopoly corporations, and that's what Harris has pledged to do. Inflation itself is down to the target range for the Fed of about 2% now, but we still, a lot of prices are too high, and they can be brought down, a lot of them, by laws against price gouging in the marketplace. Now, in terms of energy, by the way, a lot of drill, baby, drill, and we'll all be suffering with more and more hurricanes and droughts. And goodness gracious, think about the future of the planet, for crying out loud. We need more energy, lots of energy, and lots of energy from renewable sources. And that's what this administration, the new administration of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, will do. Now, when it comes to immigration, it is ironic, of course, that Trump himself, his father, was an immigrant. His wife several of his wives have been immigrants. I mean, come on. I mean, he's just using this as a absolute cudgel.
Wasn't my question. My question was, what's your candidate? What's Kamala Harris going to do?
I believe
what's
she
her
will,
policy on immigration?
No, her policy will be twofold. One is that she would reduce apply enough resources at the border, which which Democrats agreed to do, and Trump tubed, to assure that we have Border Patrol agents in adequate numbers and we have immigration courts adequate to resolve asylum claims quickly. The Republicans did oppose that. The other is she will create an immigration reform to provide a pathway to citizenship for many of the people, the immigrants who have come to our country.
It's Biden Mark II on immigration, isn't it? There's nothing new from Kamala Harris on immigration.
I think they have very similar policies, and I got to say, America is a country of immigrants, and the demonization of immigrants by Donald Trump and the Republicans is shameful.
Can I reply to this?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so I'm an immigrant to the United States of America from Turkey, and in fact, my entire family is an immigrant family. And, I totally push back on what you're saying. Donald Trump was the first president who respected the fact that we came over the legal way. I think that to castigate Donald Trump as somebody who's anti-immigrant is complete fallacy. He's anti-illegal immigrant. Stephen Miller, for example, his plan was to have double the visas given if we can get rid of illegal immigration. And I and Elon Musk and everybody would like to see more immigrants coming to America legally through the correct channels. However, having 10, 15 million people come across the border, putting a burden on the lowest quadrant of society, the social services, people who need those benefits. You see people in Chicago, you see people, homeless veterans, and the resources being diverted that could help them. Now, that is the real, travesty of all this. Americans are being left behind, and immigrants are being exploited by coyotes to come across the border. And here's another thing. 30,000 Turkish guys came across the border illegally here. What did they do? They line jumped my friends and family back in Ankara who were doing it the right way. America is a country of immigrants and a country of proud legal immigrants, and people who cross the border illegally are criminals. They are not the same thing, and it's very offensive to me and to my family to hear the Democrat Party castigate our experience and our pride of being legal immigrants like this gentleman is doing.
When Donald Trump went down that escalator, when he entered the race, the first time, he talked about how all of these immigrants are rapists and murderers. He's castigated immigrants in general as vermin that are poisoning the blood of America. That is fascist talk straight out of the 1930s Europe.
Oh, come
and
on.
that
Don't
is
use
where
those
he will
words. This
lead
is a
America
civilized
if he
discussion.
becomes the president again.
Don't start using Nazi connections. This is a civilized discussion, and that's below you.
It's very civilized, and that's exactly where he wants to take America.
So you're saying I'm defending a Nazi, sir?
I believe you are defending a person who has fascist tendencies, as his former chief of staff, 4-star General Kelly, indicated.
So you're saying that the rally that he said was going to be a Nazi rally, and Donald Trump wants Nazi generals, and from what you've said on this program, you're saying that me, Erol Morkoc, a Turkish immigrant, on this radio program is defending somebody akin to a fascist Hitler.
You can defend whoever you want to defend. I'm saying
defending
Donald
President
Trump. I'm not
Trump,
talking about
and you're
you,
calling
Errol.
him a
I'm
Nazi.
talking about Donald Trump. Donald Trump has...
You're calling all of his supporters followers of Hitler, effectively. That's what you're doing, sir. There's
I'm
80
not
million of us, and we are
castigating
not
his supporters.
fascists. We are
His
not
supporters-
fascists. We are not racists. This is not how civil discourse goes. And you
His
know better than this.
His supporters are backing him for a variety of reasons. I'm not questioning their motives. I'm questioning
You're not questioning
Donald
the
Trump's
supporters
motives.
of a fascist? You think that there's a fascist being elected and all his supporters aren't fascists? Are you kidding me?
I do. No, I don't think most of his supporters are fascists at all. I think they would be to find that repugnant, and that's
So then why are
they
they
need
voting
to
for somebody who's so
understand where he
clearly a
wants to take the
fascist to
country.
everybody on your party? You've called him Hitler many times, not you, but the Democrat Party, Joe Biden, all these people. The rhetoric from your side has been nothing but extreme and uncouth and impolite and cruel. And it's made the people in my side of the aisle for the last 10 years. You don't think it hurts people's feelings to hear somebody say that to a fellow American, that you're supporting somebody who's akin to Hitler, that you're supporting somebody who's holding a Madison Square Garden rally? I mean, do you realize that we're supposed to be countrymen? And the idea that you would put me in that category, insinuate
I'm
on
not
this radio
putting you
show.
in any category, Errol.
You are, because I'm
saying,
defending Donald Trump,
look,
and you're insinuating he's a Nazi. And you're defending,
Well, that
and you're
doesn't
insinuating
mean
I'm
that you're a
defending a
Nazi.
Nazi by the transitive property. Yes, sir, you are. And you
Look,
should
look,
not be
look,
doing
look.
that.
His chief of staff, former chief of staff,
Who was fired, sir, and wrote a book.
Who a decorated 4-star general who worked closely with him, thinks that's the case. So do a number of other people who work
Other
closely
people in the room
with
said
him.
that's a lie, including Mark Meadows, who's written books against Trump, said, I hate Donald Trump, but he never said that Donald Trump would want to have Nazi generals. Sir, that is completely ridiculous. That is tabloid journalism. And you know better than that. You are castigating half of this country who are good and decent people, immigrants like myself, or my immigrant neighbor who's a Hispanic man, or my immigrant neighbor who's a Chinese man who's voting for Trump. And you're
I'm
indicating
not
that we
castigating
support
any
fascism?
of his supporters. None of his supporters
You
am I
can't
castigating.
separate them. He's our representative.
Of course you can.
It's a representative democracy. We've chosen him as our representative, sir. We are intrinsically linked to this candidate.
I think you are making a grave mistake. That doesn't mean
because you think we're supporting
I question
Hitler.
your motives. Huh?
It's because you think we're supporting an actual fascist.
I think he
Admit
has
it.
fascist tendencies. Yes, I do.
Okay, but you don't think he's a fascist.
What are those tendencies?
Those tendencies are authoritarianism. He wants to take complete power for himself.
What does that mean?
He demonizes. Let me finish. He demonizes a large chunk of the population regularly. The guy who was a comedian at his own rally at Madison Square Garden called Puerto Ricans garbage. And
George Lopez said Mexicans are going to steal equipment at the Democratic rally. And Don Rickles is a famous comedian, roast comedian. A comedian doesn't indicate the thing. Again, this is not
Donald
how
Trump and his
works.
campaign asked that guy to speak there. Okay,
Yeah, he's a roast
presumably
comedian.
to reflect his views. Look, I'm sorry. It's just
This is the best you've got.
The fact of the matter is, this is a guy who has authoritarian instincts throughout, and who also demonizes chunks of the population. That makes
This is a
him
man
have
who says,
fascist
don't
tendencies.
trust the government. What kind of authoritarian says that, sir? What kind of authoritarian says, don't trust the FBI, don't trust the CIA, believe in yourself, be an independent person? That's the opposite, sir.
Can I ask you this, Errol? He also, so you've listed a whole range of people who Trump says, look, don't trust them. So he's looking at all of these people at these rallies, and he's telling people to trust him. But he is demonizing, isn't he? Not just the state, not just the FBI, not just judges and the judiciary and your court process. I was watching him tonight. I've been watching him at a number of rallies this week, and he's also demonizing the media.
Right.
Is it safe for him to do so? Does that contribute to your democracy in your country if the public are if the voters are essentially being told do not trust anybody that holds Trump to account?
The voters are telling you, me, and the rest of the world that they are sending a man who represents that because they feel that way. They feel that these institutions cannot be trusted. They feel that look just with the other day when Joe Biden clearly called all Trump supporters garbage, and like out of an Orwellian book, the famous one, you all know the name, they altered it. Okay, different spectra on the that different organizations have, CBS, NBC. This is public spectrum, and they are using this to alter and dictate to the American people fake news.
Well,
and so American
what you're
people
talking
feel this,
about,
and they put a candidate there.
I think what you're talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, Errol, is the official transcript of what Biden said. You can read many reports across the media in your country that the official transcript was changed. That's the allegation. That's what you're talking about, is it?
Not only the official transcript, but there are Parchik agencies, Politico, all of them published it. They make it as fact, just like the Hunter Biden story. All of these American heroes who apparently are saving us against Hitler went out and lied and said that laptop, that's all fake news. That's Russian disinformation, signed off by all the intelligence agencies. So you can imagine that the American people suddenly don't trust those people anymore. The people who told us weapons of mass destruction and went in and killed 1 million people in Iraq. For what reason? And a guy like Dick Cheney, one of the worst people in American history.
Well, that one I agree with you on,
Errol. He ends up in the Democrat Party where he belongs.
I agree with you on that mass destruction, the Iraq War completely, and it, that's why, of course, Biden pulled out of Afghanistan. We shouldn't be involved.
Wonderful job you did there. Take a bow, please.
Well,
can you tell the audience how well?
Let's be clear. Let's be clear. The treaty involved the negotiation was done by Trump before he left office.
You had 11 months. You didn't decide to change any of the plans.
In any case, Errol, the fundamental question, of course, is who are people going to vote for? A guy who is fundamentally a bully, a guy who's about himself and his fellow billionaires like Elon Musk and Bezos, or somebody who stands up for the American people, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. That's the issue here. Which of those two sides are you on? The billionaires. The only thing Trump accomplished in his last term, really,
more billionaires have donated to Kamala than to Trump.
Tax breaks to millionaires and
you are the party of the rich. 8 of the 10 richest counties vote Democrat. We are the party of the working class. I'm sorry.
You're the party of billionaires.
The billionaires
are
donating to you.
Lock, stock, and barrel by billionaires. And
no, I'm sorry. The world's greatest immigrant, Elon Musk, the greatest innovator, is on our team.
The only thing will be benefited will be billionaires' pocketbooks if Donald Trump is elected.
Yeah, you know who felt the real effect of Joe Biden? The people who don't own stocks, which is 9 out of 10 Americans. They see their uplift at the grocery store and the gas pump, and during your reign, that's where they got hit. The billionaires, the rich people, they got rich during your 4 years.
They see it with child tax credits, with help for child care, with housing prices being controlled.
You said that after J.D. Vance did it. You were behind us, just like no tax on tips.
No. J.D. Vance said that the way to take care of long-term care is have grandparents do it, for crying out loud. I mean, we've passed
one-off random statement he made, and not dismiss J.D. Vance as a candidate completely. That's totally reasonable.
We passed a broader agenda to help ordinary people with their prices, with their lives, than at any time since
and their lives are
worse, the 1960s.
Huh? Their lives are objectively worse. The metrics in every
their
scale
lives are not
worse.
Objectively
You've
worse.
Robbed them with inflation.
Today.
You said 2% inflation. Inflation compounds, sir. You're at 2% just this month. The American people have been gutted.
No, that's 2% over the last year, Errol. You need to know the numbers. Listen,
over the last year. Over your regime, it's been over 30% official line, and when you look at the real numbers for real people, you're at 80% at the grocery store, sir. You've decimated the middle class.
I don't disagree that prices are too high. That's why price gouging has to
No,
be dealt with.
1.6% is the margin from grocery stores, sir.
But let's be
1.6%, one of the
clear
tightest
that
margins in any industry. There is no price gouging on food in this country.
Please.
There's
Let's be
high
clear.
energy costs. High energy costs means expensive food because you can't have a foreign policy that doesn't stop wars, and the wars are why the energy prices are so high. The war in the Ukraine.
How would you stop the wars?
I would sit down and have a negotiation. I'm sorry, but a perpetual war that helps Lockheed Martin and BlackRock? No. The Russians have taken certain territory.
Let's talk. Hold on,
you're going to have to negotiate with Vladimir Putin.
Hold on. Let's talk about abortion. President Trump himself has regularly said states should be free to decide their own laws on abortion. Kamala Harris has long supported abortion rights, Errol.
Has long supported, I didn't quite hear you at the end.
Abortion rights.
Yes, she's long supported abortion rights, hasn't she?
Yes,
so
and Donald Trump
there's
also
the difference
has.
between...
Donald Trump was a registered Democrat till 2008. He's probably the most progressive person towards abortion. He doesn't believe in anything that would abrogate the life of the mother, rape, and incest. And the sort of policy he wants is something akin to what the EU has, which is a 12-week
Is he not walking a tightrope? Is he not taking a moderate stance while trying also not to alienate his conservative base, Errol?
Well, he has to walk that tightrope, but here's the thing. We have separation of church and state. And the Christian right does not have the power in the Republican Party anymore. So
he appointed a Supreme Court with the intention of their overturning Roe versus Wade, and they did. He took away a right that women have had in America for 50 years. He intentionally took it away. And
no, sir, the Supreme Court doesn't make laws. Justice Ginsburg also felt that it had to go back and actually be codified into law. Congress can do that as well as the states, but the Supreme Court is a judicial branch. It was a good way to Trojan horse it, but it's not a way to run a country.
Took away a right that women in America have had for 50 years. It did not. No, it did not, sir. Certainly it did.
It put it back into the courts and it put it back into the legislature so it can become law.
Well, right now, 30% of the people,
law.
The women in America are in states that ban their ability to exercise their freedom of reproductive choice. And people are dying as a result, and women are furious. And that's one of the reasons why the fact that 53% of the people in the country that are voted so far are women, and it will continue to be about that number, are going to vote Donald Trump out of office.
Well, men vote on election day, and when you look at the data, I urge people to fact check this. We are neck and neck with you with married women. You have a demonstrable lead with unmarried women, but you do not have all women, sir. And that is,
we're talking about
there's tens of millions of American women who are voting for Donald Trump.
Now, I'm just telling you, right now, the polling shows 55 to 45 among women for Kamala Harris. And with women voting in much greater numbers than men, that means the odds are very good that Kamala Harris will be the next president of the United States.
Tell me this, and we've heard tonight the passion between the two of you, and again there is a difference between passion, isn't there, and tension. How much hard, brutal anger is there on between the two sides? How do you think that's going to manifest itself for the losing side? I'm really asking, do you predict violence on the streets, Robert?
If Kamala Harris loses, I do not predict violence on the street. There'll be demonstrations like they were last time. There will be marches. There will be mobilization, but there will not be violence. If Trump loses, I think we have to worry about a replay of January 6th when he sent a mob of people to try and have a coup against the United States of America, and people were injured and killed as a result in vicious attack on the Capitol of the United States, the most vicious attack since the Civil War.
Yes, somebody was killed. Ashley Babbitt, an American veteran, was shot in the head. And all those patriots who went there to make their voice heard, certainly they aren't going to have their experience co-opted by a few bad actors. Just like people at the BLM riots were almost all peaceful, but some people did do wrong things. Most people were there for the right things, and most people at J6 were there for the right things.
What do you predict, Errol, if Trump loses?
If Trump loses, I think you're going to have basically a malaise, right? I mean, here's the thing, fact of the matter. If you consider now that Dick Cheney is with the Democrats, 20 of the last 24 years. I'm 34. My entire life I've lived basically under the Democrat, Republican, oligarchy, old world uniparty, Mitt Romney, Mitch McConnell, these kind of people, Hillary Clinton. So from my perspective and from our perspective, our lives don't change. They just continue getting progressively worse at a slow clip each year because you don't bleed a pig all at once. You stick it and you take it all the way down, which is what the Democrats do to us. So I think it'll be like a lot of disappointment, but then we have to stop and think, man, Donald Trump came out of left field, started this new political revolution. And there's so many young people who saw this and got on board. We've got a lot of young blood, J.D. Vance, Vivek Ramaswamy. I mean, a lot of people who you never would have thought. And so the movement he's done, the change he's made is demonstrable, will go down in history. I think we're going to win. But if we lose, the party will reinvent itself. It looks nothing like it did 10 years ago. Everybody can see that. And 10 years from now, it won't look anything like it does now. It's becoming a big tent full of immigrants and diverse people. And I definitely don't think
problem not when you say it will reinvent itself. If your party loses and you say your party will reinvent yourself is your party not so fundamentally built now around one man, one family? That's a lot of reinventing to do.
I mean, a little bit. I mean, if you look at it, probably in the first year, there'll be a little bit of growing pains, but this is the United States of America. This is the most adaptable country in the world, one of the most incredible chameleons to ever be a political animal. And you have people ready to step in the wings. You have, RFK Jr. Perhaps you have a third party emerge. You get people from the left and right. I mean, that would be great. Imagine we have a viable third party.
Okay.
So I really am positive for the future, whichever way it goes.
Robert and Erol, thank you very much indeed. I'm sure we'll hear you again on this programme. You've been brilliant tonight. Thank you for your time. 08085 909 693. Time for the paper review.